Known throughout the world as a tourist destination and a city visited by people from around the world, Los Angeles, with its warm, mild climate throughout the year, was the first place that the Soto Zen teaching took hold beginning in 1922, more than 90 years ago. Since Zen Shuji was founded as the first Soto Shu temple on the American mainland, funerals and memorial services have been performed as well as other yearly activities. Presently, it is particularly active in transmitting to the next generation the spirit flowing at the root of Japanese culture in such art forms as tea ceremony, flower arrangement, taiko drumming, and many other traditions. In 1941, shortly after the beginning of World War II, all Japanese American people living on the West Coast were sequestered in internment camps. Their Buddhist temples were closed, but Buddhist groups were formed in the camps and continued to be active in the lives of people throughout the war. After the end of the war, these temples provided temporary housing for people leaving the internment camps until they were able to find employment and a place to live. For Japanese Americans living in the US, the otera, temple, signified a place where their lives, culture, and spiritual values are protected. For many years, the temple fulfilled the function of being the center of the community.
真珠湾の時にその場に父とおじいさんが FBI に連れて行かれて、その後母が一生懸命で子供4人、私が一番上で、一番最初行ったのはサンタニータ。あそこでちょっとで汽車でアーカンサーの方に来ました。親の代からずっとここへ来てるから、両親もお寺で結婚してたの、1930に、そう。同じようにここでから禅宗寺で結婚し。
While on the one hand, the temple was the foundation for the Japanese immigrants in terms of their faith and hearts, it was in the 1960s that Soto Zen came to be generally known in the US, as it was a time when young Americans were groping for a way to build a new society. Within the value system called the counterculture, they sought clues to resolve the problems of society, especially the Vietnam War, racial discrimination, pollution, poverty, and so forth. This generation was particularly attracted to the practice of shikantaza as a way to know one's true self. Many young people were fascinated by the simple lifestyle in harmony with nature and the peaceful values of Buddhism. They began to practice Zen under Zen teachers and gradually worked towards developing Zen centers. Japanese priests who were kaikyoshi at Japanese American temples, Reverend Shunryu Suzuki, Hakuyu Maezumi, and Dainin Katagiri, founded Zen centers which became the basis for their respective teaching activities. From these centers, many teachers were fostered, and in no time, Zen had spread throughout the country.
This was in 1968. I was a very, very new student, and I was sitting very close to the wall, but I didn't realize that that wasn't right. And all of a sudden, there was this little face next to me, and it was Suzuki Roshi saying, move back, because I was like this. And it was very, very kind, very kind. And I decided then, in 1968, that I wanted to practice Zen. Well, I think right from the beginning, Suzuki Roshi was open to change. He didn't want to just transplant exactly how he had been trained. We changed the way we chant the sutras, and we changed the language in some of the sutras to be genderless. I think Suzuki Roshi, he set the foundation for the openness to change. And he said, you have to make your own forms and your own rules according to your culture.
I came over from England, November of 1979. Maezumi Roshi's teachings were very deep and also very broad. I met him on the first day of arriving in Los Angeles. My impressions of him at that point was that he had a sort of a dark fire and intensity about him that I'd never seen in any other Zen practitioner. Right there, that sort of made me want to study it at Zen Center of Los Angeles.
I met Katagiri Roshi in 1976. His lectures, in many ways, were talking about my own life. Like, we don't have control over everything in our lives. Suchness isn't always on our terms. Life has its own rhythm, and I take care of life as it is. That's the practice, not just sitting on a cushion. Sitting on a cushion is to sit up in suchness, in this moment. But can I do that in my everyday life? Those were Katagiri Roshi's teaching, and it was speaking to me.
Tassajara Zen Mountain Center, Zenshinji, conducts an intensive 90-day practice period which was started in 1967 and continues to this day. There, many practitioners sit together, work together, and learn together in order to find the way.
The joy of being the Tenzo is hard to describe. There's many joys. When I do those 9 bows in the mornings, and to know that Dogen did those 9 bows back in the 13th century in Japan, it's like, and here we are, in Northern California, and we're still carrying on this tradition. Is really there's something sacred and mysterious about that. It's really important to practice zazen in the kitchen. I think it's just as powerful a practice of the study of the way in the kitchen as it is in the zendo.
Zen centers primarily offer a place for people to practice zazen. However, they are also involved with charitable activities aimed at the regional society, such as prison work and hospitals, comforting people in hospice, as well as providing meals for the homeless. Soto Zen, which originally was the Buddhism of Japanese immigrants, has become widely known in present-day American culture as Zen, and in combination with community activities exerts an influence on American society. As we have seen so far, the seeds of Soto Zen were first sown on the American mainland in 1922, and were then carefully cultivated by Japanese immigrants. This plant took root in the diverse culture of North America and has fully bloomed. At a location about 3 hours by car north of San Francisco, a new monastery is being built. Here, the tradition of Soto Zen and Zen rooted in America will be merged. Here, the power to carry forward Soto Zen into the next generation will be cultivated. It is here that an epic dream is being carried out with the hope to connect Zen to the future.